over this Lenten season, we've been taking these midweek services that we've been doing, going through the words of Christ on the cross. We've heard him give that word, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. The word to that thief, today you will be with me in paradise. Woman, here is your son. Son, here is your mother. My God, why have you abandoned me? I am thirsty. Father, into your hands I entrust my spirit. And tonight we finish with this last word. It is finished. For us, 3 words, but in the Greek, just one word, tetelestai. Today, I want to unpack these words. It is finished. What it means for us theologically, but also what it means for us personally. So I'd like to take each word in itself. Let's start with it. What does he mean when Jesus says this word, it is finished? What is it? Is he finally just saying, it's done? My pain is finally over? My anguish is going to be finished? I can finally find relief? I'm just going to die? Is that what he's saying? I wouldn't blame him if he was. To endure that horrible pain, I just want to be done too. But that's not what Jesus was saying. It is. See, Jesus has spent so much of his ministry telling his disciples, telling the people, telling everyone over and over and over again that there's one reason, just one reason why he is here, that why God would take on flesh, why he would even be here in the first place. And that was because he needed to die. See, Jesus told us all along that his mission involved his death. In Mark chapter 8, he's interacting with his disciples. And he asks this question, who are people saying that I am? And they said, oh, some say you're Elijah, some say you're John the Baptist, or maybe you're some other prophet. And then he turns the question on them, who do you say I am? And Peter, great Peter, you're the Christ. You're the Messiah. And then Jesus tells them, the Son of Man must suffer. He must be rejected. He must die on a cross. But 3 days later, he will rise. And Peter, of course, says, no, Jesus, that's not what's going to happen at all. He rebukes Jesus, so Jesus has to rebuke him back, and he says, get behind me, Satan. So Jesus has told us all along, this is why I came. This is why I'm here. I've come to die. Just on Sunday, we celebrated Palm Sunday. This triumphant entry that Jesus has into the city of Jerusalem, where they're saying, Hosanna, Hosanna, save us. And Jesus is gathering here at this time, particularly because it's Passover. They're honoring and remembering and celebrating this great event in the Exodus story. And if you remember that story, the Israelites are held captive by the Egyptian, and God uses his strong and mighty hand to free them from captivity. And he brings 10 plagues. And the 10th and final plague is the death of the firstborn male. But there was salvation for those who would sacrifice a spotless lamb, who would take a hyssop branch and paint the doorpost with the blood of the lamb. And if you had the blood of the lamb, this perfect blood of the Lamb, the spotless Lamb, then you would be passed over and saved from death. So when Jesus comes marching into the city, but now he's here hanging on a cross on Passover of all days. Well, the people get to remember that John the Baptist says, there is the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. He's showing the world that his work, this it, is saving the world. It is the work of saving the world. That is what he's showing us. This is the it. He's come to save the world. He's come to spill his perfect blood. He's come to die. And through his death, there is life. This is what it is. He saves us from the wrath of the Father. He tells us it is finished. Now, this word finished means fully satisfied, completely and absolutely done. That's what finished means. And what Jesus is saying is like this work of saving the world, it is finally accomplished. It is done. And it is won. In the book of Hebrews, it reminds us in chapter 7 about how the priests had to constantly sacrifice every day, bring in a sacrifice to atone for their sins. And yet, Hebrews says that Jesus is the once and for all sacrifice. The once and for all sacrifice, because his blood is perfect and spotless, because he lived a life without sin, and yet he goes to the cross to die the death that you and I deserve. And his sacrifice is good enough to cover every sin for all of eternity. So he assures us and tells us it's done. And I know what some of us are thinking. Why would God even need a sacrifice in the first place? Isn't God nothing but love and mercy? Why did somebody have to be judged in our place? Why did somebody have to die in the first place? Because love demands justice. And there can be no mercy if there's not first something to be merciful from. So God is showing that he's angry. He's angry at the sin of the world. He's angry at the way that we rebel and disobey. He's angry at that, and there needs to be some form of justice. But instead of letting us sit in that and keep on doing it, he says, I will send my son, myself, to die for you. And he satisfies that judgment. And he gives us mercy. He spares us from the thing we deserve. All because Christ has said, it is finished. I think the greatest word is. Power is always in the verbs, right? If you notice, Jesus wasn't hanging on the cross and said, well, it might be done. He wasn't hanging there saying, well, it could be done. It can be done. Maybe one day it'll be done. If you were to say any of those, it would have robbed the moment. It would have robbed the power. It would have left us with some doubt. Well, did he really finish it? Is it really complete? Is it really done? But no, he tells us it is finished. The work of saving the world is done. It's complete. It's satisfied. It is absolutely finished. But yet all of us in the back of our mind are going, yeah, okay, it's finished. But I got to do something, right? I have to bring something to the table. I can't just look at the cross and depend upon it. I got to bring something. I got to do something. Even if this God is so loving to me that he would die on a cross, well, then I got to bring something good. I got to bring something to the table, right? Don't I have to do something? And every single one of us, we get caught up in this. We have to perform. We have to compare ourselves and how am I doing against this guy? And how am I doing against this gal? We keep thinking I got to do something and I got to do more. But we can either believe that we have to do something to save ourselves, or we can believe that God has done it all. Which choice do you take? Are you hearing these words, "It is finished"? You're thinking, okay, that's great. But I still got to do this and this and this and this. Then maybe God will look at me and say, okay, well done. Or are you living looking at the cross saying, it's enough? And a good way to kind of see where you're at is to really ask yourselves, are you living as it is finished? Or are you living as it's not? And if we live as if it is not finished, then I find that we swing from great pride to great despair. Because if I make it about my ability to be able to do something, that I'd be a nicer person or a better person, or I bring something to the table, well, those are going to be days when I'm killing it. Straight up. If Jesus would have come back that day, I'd be like, Jesus, I'm good. Take me. I'm killing this. You're going to look at me and say, Josh, you are awesome. Get in. But I find there's a lot more days when I find that it's actually killing me. I'm not the husband that I'm supposed to be. I'm not the father that I'm supposed to be. I'm not the pastor that I'm supposed to be. I'm not the friend that I'm supposed to be. And if I make it about how well I'm doing all of those things, I find that I'll just end up being in a place of despair. I find I just keep going down and down and down and down. See, if we live like it's not finished, we'll have great pride in ourselves one day, and the very next we'll find despair. Always wondering, is it enough? Have I accomplished enough? Have I done enough? Am I good enough? That's a hard place to be. It's a hard place to be when we don't quite know. But Jesus gives us this word. It is finished. He has done it all. He's accomplished it for us. He's done what you and I could never do. Something we could never even possibly in any circumstance actually accomplish. He's done it for us. And the truth of the gospel is this great gift. The greatest gift that he can give us of Jesus' words is this, that we get to exhale. I don't have to save myself. It's not about how well I can do all of these things. It's about what Christ has done. And what he's done is perfect and it's good. And we can look at every word that he's given us on the cross. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. And I know that Christ says those same words to me. Father, forgive me. I know that he looks at the cross, at the criminal on the cross, and he says, today you'll be with me in paradise. And so I know that there's a promise for me, that one day I will be in paradise. I can hear his word of Mother, here is your son. Son, here is your mother. I know that he takes care of the ones he loves, and he loves me, and he loves you. And so he's taking care of us. And so we can go, and I know that through his word of, my God, why have you abandoned me? That I am not abandoned. He was rejected so that I am accepted, and I can go, I know that through his word of I am thirsty, that he is one who fulfills and he is one who satisfies. And I can trust that Jesus is sufficient. And I can hear his words, Father, into your hands I entrust my spirit, and I know that Jesus has made death safe for me because he went there first. And he shows us how we can give ourselves up to God, who will grab us and hold us and bring us home. And he gives us this word, it is finished. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about Christ on that cross and the death that he gave us. It is finished. I'll close with this. Last words matter. Jesus was very particular about what words he wanted to say to his people, to you and to me. Now I want you to compare that with the words of Buddha, where Buddha tells us his last words are, strive without ceasing. He's basically telling us, keep working. Maybe you'll get there. If I compare that with the words of Christ, I have finished it. That brings me comfort. That brings me assurance. It's all okay. Exhale, my friends. It is finished. Amen.